Previously on Dragon Quest V, Luca had arrived in the western continent and heard word of a powerful beast ravaging a town. He discovered this beast was none other than his childhood pet, Peach. Joining him on this quest, he learned the Zoom spell and became a potential suitor for marriage into the Ludman family, if he can find 2 magical rings. Upon his journey, he encountered his childhood best friend, Bianca, reuniting and joining Luca on this quest. When returning the 2 rings, Luca is confronted with a choice, to marry Bianca or Flora of the Ludman family and become heir to their riches. He follows his heart and marries Bianca, joining together to continue Luca's quest to find his mother. Luca woke up after celebrating the night away with his new wife and his friends. Bianca greets her husband. It still hasn't caught up to her quite yet that they're married. She apologises that right now she may not be much of a wife, but she will learn to be better. And then she realises that doesn't sound like herself, so instead they just vow to live each day to the fullest for the rest of their lives. Before the happy couple leave Sarabona for good, they decide to pay Mr. Ludman a visit. He had heard of Luca's journey to find the legendary hero from Lord Harry and Lord Maria. In awe and shock, he had decided to give Luca his crown possession, the heavenly Zenithian shield. And to go along with this, he's organised a boat for Luca in Port Selmy. South from Port Selmy lies the kingdom of Telpador, and is also Luca's next stop in his grand adventure. However, Mr. Ludman offers a special alternative to the newlyweds, to take time and enjoy life for themselves, maybe to travel eastward to his casino and have a free luxury night, or travel back to the locations of their past and relive old memories. First, they stop by Coburg Castle to visit Harry and Maria. All Harry has spoken about these days was his travels with Luca. He seems so fond of his best friend. He loves that Luca stopped by. The royal life has grown boring for him, and he wishes to come along with Luca, but his place is next to his beautiful wife, and he must stay. He did leave a music box for Luca, in the chest in his old childhood room. When Luca reached out to find it, it wasn't there. Turns out it was another one of Harry's classic pranks. Instead, he handed it over to Luca so he will always have a memento of Coburg and his friend. Luca decides to pay a visit to his childhood home. Despite its demise, there is a small spark of joy. The sister in the church is so happy that Luca and Bianca decided to marry, and it fills her heart full. Bianca was able to fill the hole in Luca's heart that Pankraz left. Naturally, being so close to Willbrook, they decided to visit Al Kappa. Although many people had long forgotten Bianca, there was one old man who resides in the town who was looking for his old pal Duncan, hoping to see a glimpse of his cute little daughter. Then he realised she's right in front of his eyes. Shocked and happy, he sends his regards to her father. The sisters of the Abbey had congratulated Luca, but were more focused on their beloved Maria. Apparently, only a few days after she returned from Coburg, Prince Harry had arrived on a white horse and proposed to her. It was so romantic. Although one guest within the Abbey feels discontent regarding marriage, she had escaped her wild and crazy abusive husband and now lives within the Abbey. But she can sense in Luca's nice eyes, he will make a good husband. Luca and Bianca decide to take up Mr. Ludman's offer and head east of Port Selmy to his floating casino. This luscious, vibrant beachside island is filled with activities, but it's only the front of what's to come. On board, the lively casino ship is the main attraction. Luca and Bianca enjoy this last night together before setting off toward Telpador. The next morning, they headed off on their adventure, onward to Telpador. It was a several weeks journey by land and sea, but they had finally arrived at the desert kingdom of Telpador. Its queen is strong and wise. She soon predicts the world will be engulfed in darkness, and she's awaiting the arrival of the legendary hero. It's said long ago, the original king of Telpador was a companion of the legendary hero. After peace was restored to the world, he came here and founded his kingdom. Scholars reside within the kingdom to study the heavenly bloodline of the legendary hero, but there is hardly any record of the heavenly bloodline after him. His descendants remain a mystery. In the church, a sister tells an ancient story. A long time ago, a lone girl fell from the heavens. Her child grew to become a legendary hero and saved the world. This is just one of the many stories of the legendary hero. The strangest thing about a desert kingdom is a vibrant garden growing under the desert castle, and it's all thanks to the queen's special abilities. She is dazzling in her beauty, and her ability to foresee the future is unmatched. Bianca feels so peaceful and happy in this garden. The women here in the desert kingdom are so kind to her. Luca and Bianca had finally found the queen, Queen Isis. She immediately senses something special about the two and offers a tour of the tomb of a legendary hero. She takes him down to the depths of the tomb and shows him a shrine dedicated to the hero, but there is no grave. No one knows exactly where the hero went after the world was saved. Her kingdom has merely passed down the heavenly Zenithian helm since ancient days. If the legendary hero was once to appear again, he should be certain to seek out this helm. Until that day arrives, it's the duties of the royal family of Telpador to protect the helm. Queen Isis gracefully asks Luca to try it on. The beautifully decorated helm has made his head feel as heavy as lead, but it seems Luca was not able to equip the item, for he is not the hero. Isis says that she was mistaken to think that there was something special within him, and they leave. While it is only slight, she possesses the ability to read people's hearts. The feeling she got from Luca was likely from his deep desire to find the legendary hero, and she inquires to learn more as to why this is his heart's desire. So Luca told her everything. She is utterly shocked to learn that he intends to rescue his mother from Nadiria, the demon world, at the request of his dead father, and she says the oddest thing. She asks if Luca's father is King Pankraz of Gotha, an eastern kingdom far across the sea. The story goes that King Pankraz left his kingdom long ago with his small child in order to search for a way to rescue his kidnapped queen. Never in Luca's life did he ever hear such rumours. His father or his attendant Sancho had ever mentioned anything to him. He must find out the truth for himself, and he decides his next journey will be east to the kingdom of Gotha. With no time to rest, Luca and the gang set course through the night, and by sunrise, they arrive in the eastern continent. After such a long travel, they stop at a nearby inn and learn the only way to reach Gotha is through the tall mountains, so they stay the night and make plans the next morning. They make way through the steep mountains. Bianca is so excited to learn of her husband's hometown and who he truly is, but they had lost their way pretty early into the journey, barely scratching the surface of the caves itself. Something that's not a great sign, and they find an old woman who offers them shelter for the night. In the middle of the night, Bianca wakes up to a scratching sound and alerts her husband. The sound resembled of someone sharpening a blade. Luca decides to take a look, but he's locked in place. He cannot move his own body. This old woman had revealed she had cast a spell to make sure they were stuck in a deep sleep for the whole night, but clearly it didn't work very successfully on them. As they was unable to move their own bodies, she approaches Luca with a sword in hand and passes it over to him. She sharpened it to help him on his travels. It's the dead of the night and he must get some more sleep, and it seems they slept quite well because of his spell. And they begin their journey up the mountain, but to get to the other side, they had to climb through the harsh mountains of the Gotha region, filled with the strongest, most powerful fiends, treacherous landscape and rocky terrain, but together, they fight on. Atop the journey through the mountain, around the halfway point, they find a nice cozy little village, and one of the villagers notices that Bianca's face doesn't look well. She isn't feeling the best, but she insists it's not to worry. She is okay. Bianca had fainted, completely out of it suddenly. Luca, with some help, carries her to the inn and treats her sudden illness. The priest examining her says she doesn't have any symptoms of a fever. She's most likely tired from the climb and she should rest until tomorrow. Bianca apologizes for worrying Luca like that, and she insists that she's fine now. She's just going to take a nap. So the next morning, Bianca's up at the crack of dawn and wakes Luca up to prove she's all better. She's filled with excitement to take a peek at his birthplace, since they're so close. This is the mountaintop village of Gotha. There isn't a single day in all the year that snow doesn't fall. In the past, anyone could easily come to the village without worrying about monsters. Not so much recently. There is a lady in town that threatens her child. If he doesn't eat his carrots, he's going to be kidnapped by monsters, like the Queen of Gotha. Many people admire Bianca for her strength and her beauty, constantly reminding Luca not to take her for granted, to treat her well the way she deserves. Luca really must be lucky. Luca hears that the King of Gotha was a fine man who would stop by this humble town, but without the king, the kingdom will soon be lost. A scholar within the church shares with Luca that Queen Martha of Gotha had the power to pass through Nadaria, the demon world. Her power is unknown, but she had really mysterious eyes. The story goes, looking into her eyes would put your heart at ease. Sort of the same way he feels when he looks at Luca's eyes. But he's confused what this means. Leaving the town, they get a beautiful view of the kingdom of Gotha down from a bridge. Soon, they will arrive at what is supposed to be Luca's birthplace. After a long journey of climbing down this mountain, it seemed a harder task than climbing up it. The caves were treacherous and filled with strong monsters, and much of the terrain had included jumps down from cliffs' edges and navigating the dark tunnels. They did accidentally find a mysterious man who says he's lived within the mountains for 100 years. He tested Luca's virtue and honesty. He's relieved to learn that there still are some honest people out there. After lots of trial and error, they'd finally made their way out of the mountain. As the sun rose that morning, Luca had reached Gotha. It was a long journey across a couple of months, but it all blurred together. They'd lost count being in the mountains for so long. As always, Luca learns all he can of where he is. He noticed the kingdom is all confined within the castle walls, unlike anything he's ever seen before. One woman had long travels to this kingdom, but her journey came to an end once she reached the castle. She received so much help from the former king, she loses all of her strength to keep talking once Queen Martha is brought up. There's also a slime that is resident of this castle, but not an evil slime. It was raised by Queen Martha. And there's a sign on one of the walls of the castle. 10,000 gold reward to the one who finds former King Pankraz and Queen Martha. Signed by King Ogeron. The citizens of Gotha prefer King Pankraz over their new king Ogeron. They all dearly miss him. The king had been away on a long journey. Everyone has been waiting for the true king to return. Sadly, he never did. So, some years ago, King Pankraz's brother, King Ogeron, took the throne in his absence. The kingdom of Gotha is a beautiful castle, with strong soldiers and citizens with hope and dreams. At least if Pankraz was still there. Lady Doris, daughter of Ogeron, never wanted to become a princess. She was forced by her father, and now rebels against the stuck-up ladylike life. She wishes she could be carefree. The soldiers long awaited the day for King Pankraz to return. One day, Sancho was spotted returning and the castle was so happy, until they heard the news. And they never lived the same ever since. Luca tries to enter the throne room, but the soldiers won't believe his claims that he is of the royal bloodline, and he's sent away. But all this talk of Sancho brought back memories for Luca. So, Luca found him inside of a cabin by the side of the castle. At first, he did not recognize Luca. Until after some time, he did. He's so shocked and filled with emotion that little Master Luca is alive and safe. He comes close to take a good look at his face. He's the spitting image of his father. He's grown up to become a fine young man. He learns that this young woman beside Luca is Bianca. He remembers how small and cute the two used to be. He says that she's grown to become so pretty. His heart is bursting with joy once he discovers they recently became married. He begins to cry and sob. It's the greatest news he's had for such a long time. In happiness and joy, Sancho takes Luca and Bianca to see King Ogeron, who must know the great news. Sancho's smile could not even hold back the news. The king notices that it must be a good word, and the king believes that Luca is the son of his brother. He has the eyes of his mother. He never thought their long-lost prince would grow up so strong and return to the kingdom. He formally greets himself as Ogeron, Luca's uncle, and Bianca introduces herself too as Luca's wife. But she collapsed to the ground once again. Sancho carries her to a bed to rest, and as soon as she wakes up, a nun examines her and is shocked that she's been travelling for so long, pushing her body to the limit in such a condition, and learned she also collapsed in the mountain's peak. She scolds Luca for not being prepared enough to take care of his wife in case the worst would happen. Sancho fearfully asks how much of a bad state she's in, and to the nun's confusion, she says that it isn't any bad state. She's pregnant. Luca is soon to become a father. Bianca isn't showing just yet, but a baby has been growing inside of her for some time. Bianca apologises that she's been trying to hide this for a while. She had suspicions this might be the case, but she was afraid that Luca might give up on his journey if she said anything. Now she realises she must rest and take care of herself so she can give birth to a happy, healthy baby. Sancho has never been so happy in all his life. He was convinced little Master Luca was dead, never to return, but now he's back with a wife and soon a child. The king waits for Luca downstairs. The nun told him all the good news, and he also has something important to discuss. In all honesty, he's given it some thought. He's going to step down and hand over the throne to Luca. He always knew he didn't have the makings for a king. He's always been a soft person. Now his brother's son has returned, it's only logical that the throne is passed on to Luca. But there is an ancient tradition. Those who wish to become the king must visit the Cave of Trials. In the past, the cave was not infested with monsters like it is now. However, tradition is tradition, and the Chancellor insists it must be upheld in the correct manner. Ogeron would rather give Luca the throne, but the Chancellor makes a good point. Luca must venture into the Cave of Trials and acquire the royal emblem. Once the task is complete, the throne will simply be handed over to him. The Cave of Trials is located within the forest, east of the castle. Luca has a good rest and decides to set out the next morning. As the sun rose, Luca and Bianca wake up, both feeling well rested. Bianca especially feels much better. She was so shocked to learn that he was the prince of his kingdom, and that means their child will become royalty. But despite that, she's still so happy with the way things are already, with the way her life is already. The Chancellor recognises that it's still a secret that the son of Pankraz has returned. Anything could happen while he's in the cave, so it wouldn't be good for the citizens of Gotha to have their happiness whisked away from them, just in case. Luca sets off on his journey and finds the cave. Inside he walks into an air of magic, a setting he could not describe. He finds a stone tablet with an inscription, surrounded by 4 doors. Luca reads the words inscribed on the stone. The one who would become king must never allow violence. The king must force those with their backs turned to face each other, so that their conflicts can be resolved. Always follow the path of the emblem. Luca approaches the first door and realises that there's puzzles to solve. Luca spends a long time playing around with these rotating stone statues until he came across a discovery. Upon facing 2 of them toward each other, he walked back into the tablet room and noticed an insignia of Gotha on the floor has changed location. He follows the rooms of the emblems. Once again, he turned the stone birds to face one another, and when he left the room, he was transported somewhere else. He followed the paths ahead of him and accidentally activated a flood of water to pass through the tunnels. He continued this maze lower and lower into the temple and solved more of the trial's cryptic puzzles. He saw a bright light shining from the royal emblem of Gotha. He had found the crest that would let him achieve his birthright. As he's leaving, he's put to an abrupt stop by some bandits. They will not let Luca go trotting off with the royal emblem. There is someone who doesn't fancy Luca becoming king. They will take it by force. These 2 ghastly thugs had interrupted this magical royal temple with their disgusting presence. The peace and tranquility was disturbed, and Luca put them to an abrupt end. Throughout the night, Luca had returned home to Gotha. He had remembered how far he's come over the last 4 years. He broke free from a life of slavery, freed an entire kingdom, found a beautiful wife who's on her way to bring them a child, and now becoming king. He can't believe how much his life has changed in just 4 years. He visited Sancho, and Sancho says that back when his mother was captured, his father planned to leave Luca behind. But Luca kept crying unless his father was around, so he made the decision to bring him along. But with him there, they wouldn't know what might happen, so he made Sancho promise not to share that Luca is a prince. He expresses his deepest apologies for hiding it. He wishes Luca accepts the throne and becomes king, or else he doesn't know how he will face his father when he gets to heaven. Atop the fireplace in Sancho's home, Luca notices a painting Pankraz and himself as a young boy. Luca shares the good news with the king, who is so happy and relieved. He asks the Chancellor if he has any more objections to Luca taking the throne, a question he deems as unfair, as he was only trying to withstand tradition. As of this moment, Luca becomes the new king of Gotha. The rest of the citizens must be notified and a celebration ceremony is in order. The Chancellor will take care of it all. The king notices that having been against the whole situation in the first place, the Chancellor quickly changed his mind. Suddenly, a woman bursts into the room with an emergency. Lady Bianca is having the baby as they speak. This day would mark the day as the arrival of a new king and a new prince or princess. Bianca is doing the best she can to make sure the baby is brought into this world healthily. She utters between her frequent breaths her love for Luca. The nun and midwife send Luca downstairs to wait, and Sancho notices the resemblance of how Luca was born. The way he is waiting here is almost exactly the same as his father did. Lord Pankraz was so happy that day. Luca trots around the room in anxiety, with his monster friends still with him. He did not have time to prepare for this, he did not have time to rest or send his gang away. The moment he returned to the castle, this all happened so quickly. Suddenly, a child's screams can be heard. Bianca has given birth, not only to one, but 2 children, and she did a great job bringing these babies into the world. It was time to name the prince and princess of Gotha. They had decided for the prince to give him a name that resembles innate goodness, a name that signifies a good, kind and virtuous person, and decided to name him Bueno. For their new daughter, Princess of Gotha, they decided for a name that would resemble the heavens, for blessing both Luca and Bianca on the same day he would become king. Another good, virtuous name, and want to show their devotion to God. They had decided to name their daughter Faith. They hope when their children grow up, the world can be peaceful again. Bianca suddenly is overcome with tiredness, and she falls asleep. Overnight, news of the new King Luca and the birth of the twins spread throughout Gotha. The people were overjoyed to hear that King Pankraz's son was still alive, and they applauded the wise decision of King Ogeron, the decision of crowning the new king of Gotha, King Luca. Bianca and Luca wake up together, their first morning as parents. Today's also the big day for Luca's ceremony. His coronation as king. Bianca finds something a little strange. When she was a kid, she thought her parents had always been her mom and dad. But after this, she realizes just about everyone becomes a father or mother, and she wonders if they will be good parents to their children. Luca's ceremony promptly begins. King Ogeron makes his speech, handing over the throne to its rightful king. Today's celebration spread across the kingdom and lasted long into the night. As the people danced and sang, The joyfulness of the day grew and grew. However,